Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to our very first episode of Blanka Talks, the important teacher. Blanka Talks is Drottning Blanka, Cyber and Snitz High Schools in Sweden, and it's our very first international talk show for and with teachers. Our very important contributors in this program series are Varkey Foundation and Teachers Without Borders, and of course, the most important ones, the teachers. In today's episode, we will meet Anna Nyholm, Camilla Norström, and Marge Brown, and they will share with us their views on why teachers matter. But first, let me introduce you to the Regional Director of Varkey Foundation in Latin America, Agustin Porres. Thanks to him and his wonderful team members, Barbara Ersen and Matias Sojo, we are able to make this talk show happen. Hello, Agustin. How are you? And a huge congratulations to your newborn baby, Amalia.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, Agustin. Very good, thank you. Are you okay?
Yes, okay. Enjoying and very happy to be here with you all today.
We are very happy to have you. And again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. We're just going to jump into the first questions. Of course, you had a very important event happening recently with your newborn daughter coming into the world. But we also have another important event that happened November 10th. Could you tell us what happened then? And what was Varkey Foundation's role in that event?
Yeah. Great. Well, we are very happy to share the news that we award a new edition of the Global Teacher Prize. This year, it was done in Paris with UNESCO at the General Conference of UNESCO, that we award a new Global Teacher Prize. We celebrate a new teacher, and with that, we celebrate teachers all over the world. And not only the winner, but many, many other teachers that are doing an amazing job. The prize, of course, the ceremony is the end of a long process, but we are excited about the process itself, because through the prize, through the celebration of a teacher, we met thousands of great teachers that we are very proud to know. You will meet later today, Marge, but there are many others as she that are doing an amazing job, and we really want to celebrate. We want to thank them for what they are doing, and we want to put a spotlight on what teachers are doing, because it's so critical today, and we don't pay enough attention to their job. We don't support them enough, and there is a long way to go over there on building trust with teachers, to teachers, among parents, among principals, among education systems. And the prize is one way to help on that direction.
Yeah, exactly, Agustin. It's a fantastic award that you have, and you have a very fantastic organization just solely focusing on supporting teachers all over the world. And as you mentioned, we have Marge here today, and she is a Global Teacher Prize ambassador. So what does that mean, and how do you actually become one?
Yeah, every year we award the Global Teacher Prize. It's $1 million prize for a teacher from any place of the world. For that, we receive applications for more than 150 countries every year that apply, they apply on their own, or also people could nominate a teacher. You can nominate a teacher to this prize. So we get applications, but also nominations from people that want to recognize a teacher. Before selecting the winner, we select the top 50 every year. And from the 50, we select the top 10 and then the winner. We always say that for us it's more exciting to select and announce the top 50 than announcing the winner. Because the night that we announce the top 50, there are not only 50 lives that change, people that became famous, that all the newspapers go to their schools, the presidents, all the media is getting attention, but also there is a spotlight in many countries and an opportunity for those countries to celebrate teachers. So the celebration got massive, and those societies start to pay more attention to those teachers. All those 50 finalists from each year become part of the Global Teacher Ambassador Network, that are these great teachers that we work together. We say that we are kind of a family. We come together, we start to know each other, to make their projects, what they are doing, their goals, and very naturally, it's not that we have to work very hard, very naturally, very spontaneously, teachers start to work together. And we start to see connections, people from different countries working together, students from different countries coming together because of their teachers. So this is the Global Teacher Prize Network, is amazing teachers working together. We are just the platform for that. We just put them together, and then teachers are the ones who do the great job there.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, you couldn't have said it any way better. And I only have one final question for you. Do you remember a teacher that mattered to you when you grew up, and why?
Yeah, for sure. Let me tell you, I have a few that I want to celebrate. I remember a biology teacher on my secondary school, on my third year of secondary school, that she has to teach us biology, but she performed in every class. And I remember her coming with a big bag to each of the classes, because she prepared with objects how to explain all the process of the body. And it was really someone who prepared the classes, who I remember carrying the bags to make it very easy to understand, very easy to see what she wants to teach us, and the passion that she has in order to teach and for us to understand. And it was very critical things that were very important for a 15-year-old kid to understand the body and the biology in general. But also, now this year that we award the prize, there was a teacher in Argentina in the top 10, an Argentinian teacher, who is a primary teacher in third grade, and she teaches how to read. And because of her story, I came back to my teachers who teach me how to read. I see how I'm impressed of how important is that. For us, it's very normal. We all here know how to read, but not all of our kids in our countries know how to read at the age that they need that. And so read is something so important, so basic, that we use every day, but we don't pay enough attention. First, to those who can't, and we need more teachers doing that job. And then something that is so simple, but at the same time, it's so complex. Yeah. If I try to teach to my kids how to read, it's very hard for me. Yeah. So that is the role of teachers. They are giving us critical tools that sometimes we don't realize how important they are, but they are critical. So we cannot do nothing if it is not because of our teachers.
Thank you so much for sharing your views on why teachers matter. And thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. And again, congratulations on your newborn, Amalia. And we wish you the best of luck. And hopefully one day you will be able to join us live.
Please.
Yes. Thank you so much.
So. Thank you very much for setting up this space for these kind of conversations. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
We look forward to more conversations with you. Take care for now. So, next up, we have an equally important contributor, Dr. Fred Mednick. He's the founder of Teachers Without Borders, and he is also a professor of education sciences at Vrije University in Brussels. Unfortunately, Fred could not be with us today, but he has sent us all a lovely video greeting to tell us more about his organization and why teachers matter. So let's watch it.
My name is Fred Mednick. I am thrilled to be in the company of others to help kick off the Blanka Talks with a short story illustrating the theme of the important teacher. I founded Teachers Without Borders in 2000 to connect teachers to information and each other in order to close the education divide. We work in girls' education, peace and human rights education, and education in emergencies. Of all the things I have learned, two things come to mind. The first is that brains are evenly distributed throughout the world, not just in the West. And the second is that leaders aren't born or made, they show up. With that said, I'd like to introduce you to Solmaz Mohajer to describe a brain with a heart of gold who showed up when we needed her the most. Here's what happened. Teachers Without Borders had finished up for the year teaching inquiry science methods to middle school teachers in China. Soon afterwards, the May 12, 2008 earthquake, registering 7.9 on the Richter scale, struck Sichuan province. Children died in their seats, and as it turned out, 50% of all children who die in earthquakes perish at school. These were tofu buildings, the teacher had said. Shoddy materials, no reinforcements, squishy. And I saw this up close. 8-story classrooms without stairways, stairways without classrooms. Makeshift shrines constructed by grieving parents, day packs strewn everywhere. The director of education had been warning his superiors that this might happen, and during his tenure, the building construction he had personally supervised remained fully intact. We toured the devastation, and he asked me, look, let's switch from inquiry science to earthquake science and safety. I turned to the TWB network and found Solmaz, who was a TWB member and a geologist from Iran. She had been developing a prevention and planning program in earthquake science, and after having conducted this GPS geodesy in Pakistan and India and Tajikistan as a grad student, Solmaz pointed out that shallow earthquakes, populated areas, unreinforced buildings, and no earthquake education easily turn a natural disaster into a national catastrophe. In Tajikistan, Solmaz had asked the children, what causes earthquakes?
یک جاداری است که وای به مثل حیوان است اگر وای جنبد زمین جنبی میشه یک خلاص میگن که مثلا در تک زمین یک گل.
The challenge for Solmaz was always to seize upon the stories as an opportunity for scientific exploration. She had no intention of dispelling adopted beliefs or taking the bull by its proverbial horns, but on enabling children to learn about what happens next. She spoke their language and she used props. Replicate the low and high frequencies of vibrating waves. And most of all, her students began to think like scientists. They made predictions and tested them. They examined various variables to see if there's an experiment outcome. They collected and recorded and interpreted and evaluated the results in small groups. And they identified hazards and they practiced drills. And Solmaz did this in one seismically vulnerable and poor community and country after another. The program spread to Haiti, Afghanistan, India, Russia, Pakistan, has been translated into 7 languages to fit the geology and culture and classrooms of each region. Most of all, with Solmaz, the students were not only thinking scientifically, they were becoming activists. They were becoming important students. So Solmaz is someone addressing an educational fault line that represents a difference between life and death. And like the best of teachers, she wasn't born or made. She simply showed up. Enjoy yourselves, everyone. This sounds like a fantastic series for the voice of teachers.
Thank you so very much, Fred, for your opinions on why teachers matter. And as you say, Teachers don't only change lives, but they save lives. And now I would like to direct a question to you, dear audience. On the screen, you see a QR code. And if you scan that code with your cell phone, you just hold up your cell phone and you open up the camera and hold over the code, there is going to be a question that pops up. And that's the one you also see on the screen. And we would like for you to share with us a teacher that mattered or was important to you. So please go ahead and do that. And if the QR code doesn't work, you can use the link below the code. Thank you. And now it's finally time to meet our guests of honor, the teachers. We have today social sciences teacher Camilla Norström from Drottning Blanka, Stockholm Södra. And she has a background as a journalist and a crime reporter. Today, she teaches young adults journalism, criminology, and communication. She also coaches a football team here in Stockholm. Marjorie Brown is a history teacher at Rhodean School, Johannesburg, South Africa. And she is also Global Teacher Prize Ambassador for Varkey Foundation. She teaches young women the importance of critical thinking and global citizenship. She is also a former human rights activist and leads the Kids Lit program and the Pendulani organization in order to increase literacy among students that live in underprivileged areas in South Africa. And last but not least, Anna Nyholm, teaching law at Cybergymnasiet Stockholm Odenplan. And she is also a mentor in the economics program. She has a huge passion for internationalization in education and knows that helping students connect across borders helps them understand each other and also create compassion for one another. She actually just returned from Vilnius, Lithuania, with a group of students. So hello everyone, and great to see you. I hope you're all doing well.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So good to have you here today. And again, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I'm just going to jump in with the first question. What made you decide to become a teacher? Marge, would you please go ahead and tell us your story?
Thanks, Anna. I have always been a curious person, and I myself love learning things. And in the same way, I love sharing that knowledge with others. I did, right from the beginning, however, in our country, see that education is part of social justice. And so I started one of the first non-racial schools in South Africa during apartheid, and then left teaching to become an anti-apartheid activist for about 15 years. And then when apartheid ended, I felt that the most important way to rebuild a divided country was through education, because apartheid had used education as a way of keeping people of color inferior, subordinate. Their minds were controlled. And I felt through education, I wanted to decolonize education and free their minds. As Steve Biko says, the greatest tool in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And I felt by teaching and creating critical thinkers, we would level the playing fields and create a more equal democratic society.
Yeah, so I really see how your background as a human rights activist really plays in with why you became a teacher. What about you, Camilla? Because you have a background as a journalist and a crime reporter. What made you decide to turn to the teaching profession?
Well, yes, the actual decision to become a teacher was a very big surprise to me myself and to everybody I told. But when the decision was made, it was so obvious when I realized it. And as you said, I was a journalist for 20 years and I chose to become a journalist because I was curious about the world. I wanted to learn and I wanted to be a part in changing the world and make a difference. And I think it's the same reasons why I wanted to become a teacher. And as you also said, I've been a soccer coach for 15 years, and I've started soccer coaching in parallel with my career. And I realized when I was coaching the teenagers, it was so, they are so much alike really good reporters, and it was so much alike leading a news desk and working as a news editor on a big daily, because teenagers, they question and they are curious and they want to know why and they want to know how, and they really don't take no for an answer, and they never say that they already tried everything. So when I first left the paper, I worked for 15 years. I worked as a strategist analyst in communication. But in a year, I was quite bored because I missed the buzz and energy and constant talk about politics and news and journalism and crime. And I miss being challenged and being forced to be updated. So all of that I found in teaching. And now I get to talk about all that all day long. And I'm really forced to be updated. So being a teacher gives me the opportunity to keep discovering the world, exploring the world, and I need to learn myself and learn in an exciting environment. So now, well, as I said, it's so obvious now when I am a teacher, and I'm so happy that it's possible to change careers, even though you're not that young anymore.
Thank you, Camilla. What about you, Anna? What made you become a teacher? And do you share some of Camilla's thoughts on being challenged every day and how fun it is and energetic?
Yeah, and to be in an environment to be challenged, and definitely you are never bored when you are a teacher. But I was thinking to myself that I probably became a teacher because my teachers always told me, be something that you like and something that you will enjoy for the rest of your life, and not something that has a high status or giving you much money. Maybe it's a mix of it all, word by word, what it is to be a teacher. But most of all, what I like is that it's so nice to learn new things and with other people, and just this aha feeling. I learned this today, and just great to be in that environment, and definitely with no filters and just direct questions, and you get right then feedback. Are this good, or is it bad, or do we like it, or are we motivated to do this? And I love it. So I think I became a teacher because I like learning, and I like to learn in an environment where other people like to learn. And if they don't like to learn, and once they learn something, they get this feeling and this face that's, I learned this. And I love to be in that environment. So I'm still a teacher after 20 years, and I recommend it to everyone, even my own students now.
Thank you so much for sharing your views on your background and also your stories behind it all. We're going to turn to our audience again and see some of the responses that they have shared with us to see if they have any teachers that they were important to them and why. So let's see what they have put in, and I really hope the code and everything worked. You never know. So we have Anne-Marie Sjöqvist, who shared, she opened my eyes to the importance of culture and languages. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Please continue using the QR code or the link, and continue sharing your teachers that you remember and honoring and celebrating them. But let's go back to our wonderful teachers who joined us today. So you mentioned, Anna, before about the status and of teachers in your society. So what are the teachers' status, and how are teachers viewed in your communities and your societies? Camilla, please. What do you say?
Well, I think it's I think we're part undervalued, but at the same time, and especially now after or still during this pandemic, both the students and their parents have realized how important the teachers are and how important teaching in school are. And I think it's lovely to hear the students realize that and saying that they need to be in school and that learning is something that becomes in relations to others. But I think in some parts of the society, the status is very high because everybody realizes it's important when teachers. But I think it's a difficult question because it really depends on who you talk to. And I myself, when I wasn't a teacher, I didn't think I didn't undervalue them, but I think I didn't have a clue what it meant to be a teacher, and I didn't realize myself how important it was until I had kids on my own and got to see how school works and you know. So I think we have a lot to do to really make people understand how important work we actually do.
And what do you say, Marge? What's the situation, or how are teachers viewed or valued, and what's the status of teachers in South Africa? The sound.
Sorry, South Africa is a very unequal country. And so we have teachers who teach in independent schools and teachers who teach in state schools. And the teachers that teach in very wealthy independent schools are often seen as employees or servants of rich parents who pay a lot for education and expect a lot of the teacher. And that has its own complications. And then in state schools, teachers are not badly paid, but their conditions of teaching are really quite challenging in many cases, especially in the rural areas where they might have very big classes, maybe still pit toilets, lack of running water. And so it's very challenging for teachers in that way. And that also leads them to feel undervalued. The Varkey Foundation has shone a spotlight on teachers and really has tried to improve their status, not only on a world level, but challenging countries to develop their own national teacher prizes. And we do have a teacher prize in our country. So there is that awareness, but I think that a lot of teachers, the spotlight that really shone on teachers was COVID. And that parents who had to look after their own children at home realized just how time-consuming it is and just what teachers do beyond just the classroom in terms of emotional well-being of children, which really struggled during COVID. And I think COVID really helped parents understand how much teachers do.
Yes, I totally agree with you as well. And I as you mentioned before, I mean, Varkey Foundation is involved in different teacher awards as well. And we have the same one here in Sweden, of course, Lärargalan. So that's how they spread their network, which is very important, of course, to shine a light on teachers and how important teachers are. What about you, Anna? Did you experience any differences on how students or parents viewed you before and after the pandemic?
Not really in high school that much, but I'm teaching in the nighttime. I'm teaching adults that are newly arrived here to Sweden, Swedish language. And not only was it difficult through the computer, but the how can I say, the cure, the most important thing was actually that they saw me face to face and they had a body in the classroom and an adult to talk to, because most of them hadn't seen Swedish people or met even other people during a whole day. So they were longing to have the night courses. But I was actually thinking when you were saying the diversity in schools, Marge, I was thinking that we have the same here. Don't you agree, Camilla? Absolutely. And I was thinking that we also have a, what do you say, like I'm looking for the word compensational role, or do you see what I'm saying? That sometimes you need to be the subject teacher, and sometimes you need to be the adult who listen, and sometimes you need to be the role that actually take this person to see a play at the theater, because they will never have the money or the opportunity otherwise. I think our role is so much more. As you were saying, Camilla, I never knew what this was going to be about when I first started as a teacher. I could say the same, even though I thought it was a lot about knowledge and all this. And yeah, it still is, but it's so much more. And if you don't get energy from young people or from students, I think it's easy to fall out from this. But if you get energy, wow, then you get energy. And then you are empowered in yourself, and sometimes you can be even humble, like you yourself in a different way. I would say each week I'm like bicycle riding home from school, and I'm passing all Riksdagen, the government, and I'm passing the city center of Stockholm and the castle, all these, and all workers, and I'm always so grateful that I have this occupation, and because I'm able to see things through the children's life or through the adults' lives that I meet in the nighttime, you learn so much about yourself and others, and you grow as a person, and you let other people grow. Well, I'm taking it too long, but I'm
no,
yeah,
it's fine.
It's so interesting.
I totally understand what you're saying about, like, it is a very symbiotic relationship between being a teacher and having, teaching students, because as you say, we play so many different roles, but that's also, I mean, you kind of summarized also, that's why we are also so important to them, to our students, and of course to our colleagues. I think we give and we share energy in that sense. So absolutely. So I only have one final question for you. Thank you again for sharing the views of different, how teachers are viewed in different communities, and also the difference between whether children come from a family well off, or in another socioeconomic part of society as well. I think we can recognize that maybe. But my burning question, and the question of the hour, of course, which this whole episode is about, could you say just a few words? Why do teachers matter? I think we said it before, but if you could just, each and every one of you, sum it up a little bit. Anna, why do teachers matter?
Did you say Anna?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I keep it short.
Marge,
Camilla, me, and you, Anna-Karin, we all entered that door, school. And I think, I don't know how many countries there are, 250 countries. Everyone enters that door, and everyone meets a teacher. So it has such a big impact. So yes, in that case, we are so important. And then what role we are playing, we are, we are changing those roles, and it has a big spread, I would say. So important, so important.
And Marge, what's your view on why do teachers matter?
I really think that teachers are multifaceted. We have to be role models, we have to be leaders, we have to be facilitators of knowledge, we have to be an emotional support base for our students, guiding them through identity politics, which is really complicated at this stage in schools. We have to transform lives, and we have to create critical thinkers. At the same time, we have to grow constantly and keep up with changing technology. And for me, the framework of being a teacher is the Sustainable Development Goals. Because when I have a person in my classroom, I have to see them in the classroom and beyond it. So I have to make sure that they know the content of my subject, but that they become critical thinkers and global citizens, that they are preparing themselves for a career, but also that they matter to me, that I see them as individuals within their global citizenship. And I believe that we are, as teachers, in a nutshell, unlocking their human potential.
Thank you so much, Marge. You described it beautifully. What about you, Camilla? What do you say?
Well,
why do teachers
as you
matter?
said, Marge put it beautifully, so it's not easy to say something more. I totally agree with you, but I keep relating to my job as being a journalist, even though I absolutely identify myself today with being a teacher. But a driving force for many journalists is to be a voice for the people who cannot make themselves heard. And for me, teaching is the same. Again, it's about educating students to know how to be their own voice and know how to navigate in our society. And I think it's to learn to teach them how to navigate and how to be citizens. And if the citizens of the future are not included or don't understand our society, I for real think our democracy is in danger. And our democracy has no future if the young people doesn't know how to be included. So, well, for the sake of a future, I think that's why we matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, they are our future. And again, thank you so much for sharing your views on why teachers matter. Just one tiny question, because you did mention, I mean, we all understand, we all know, of course, why teachers matter, but do you remember a teacher growing up that mattered to you, Camilla?
Well,
someone who made an impact?
Yes, of course. I've had several teachers that had an impact, but they had the impact, so they made me become a journalist. I keep talking about journalism, but I had Roger. I had him when I was 10, 11, and 12 years old, and he really taught me how to ask questions and how to find the answers myself. And he really saw me, well, he made a huge impact and to me wanting to become a journalist. And I think in the long run, that was me wanting to become a teacher as well.
Thank you. And what about you, Anna? Do you have a teacher that you remember, or teachers maybe, that had an impact on you?
I have a mathematics teacher. I was struggling in mathematics, and I can say I didn't pass that subject, but I still wanted to go to his lessons because he was very passionate, and he saw me as a person with the goods and with the bads, and he always told me, you know what, Anna, it's good enough what you have done today, and you will become something great. Maybe not in mathematics, but in something else. And I think it's such a nice attitude, and that's why I remember him. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Marge, what was it like for you? Do you have a teacher that you remember that mattered to you?
When I was growing up in South Africa during apartheid, it was a very authoritarian system. And I remember the teachers that were not authoritarian, who saw each of us as individuals, who took an interest in our personal lives and had a sense of humor. I think education really does need humor as well. But then someone who didn't teach me but inspired me to become a teacher was my cousin, who taught in a school during apartheid for children of color, and she sympathized with their protests against apartheid and was blacklisted and was told she wouldn't teach in South Africa again. And watching her brave stand in empathizing with the students really shaped my personal belief that teaching is a form of activism. It's a form of activism to create as equal a society as possible, no matter what the cost.
Thank you so much. So to sum up, you all described beautifully and very well to get a good view of why teachers matter in your communities and your societies, and a little insight in what it's like being a teacher in Sweden and of course in South Africa. And all our contributors here today have really made it clear that teachers not only change lives, but we save lives. We make a difference. So I want to thank you for joining us today and taking the time out of your busy schedules. And I really hope that we will be able to meet one day as well in person to continue our conversations. And thank you so much for joining us, Camilla, Marge, and Anna. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So to continue, as our wonderful teachers here today have described, we are vital components in our communities, and I really hope that you today who have watched the show, that you carry this with you, and that you yourself, maybe you're a teacher or someone else in education or any other profession, that you also know that you can make an impact and that you do matter as well. We can all be teachers, maybe not in a school building, but this is what we can do, and we do have a responsibility. So again, my warmest thanks to Marge, Camilla, and Anna for being with us today. And I also, of course, want to thank Augustine from Varkey Foundation, and of course Fred, who sent us the lovely video greeting, who was with the organization Teachers Without Borders. And I thank them for supporting us today and being here. I also want to thank, of course, Academedia Academy, Nina, the production manager, and her colleague Rickard, who has been incredible here today, and making sure all the tech works and soundproof and whatever, all these things. And of course, I also want to thank Frida Gustafsson Wenne, who actually got me connected with Varkey Foundation and Augustine, because without that connection and putting people together in education, we wouldn't even be here. So thank you to everyone. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to our second one that is going to be aired on the 17th of December at 2 p.m. Central European Time, and it's called The Inspirational Teacher. So, see you then. Thank you.